Over the years, people have come up with many different ways to speedrun their favorite games. Most try to beat them in as little time as they can, keeping their run strictly to what is required to win. But some people do the opposite, aiming to complete everything in the game while also going as fast as they can. These typically end up being 100% runs, but in recent years, getting every single achievement or trophy has been a popular alternative. These speedruns aim to get every achievement for a game in a single sitting, and while it may not exactly be a 100% completion of the game, these runs present their own challenges. Final Fantasy X is no exception. With 34 achievements specific to the game, these range from being as simple as picking up your first Albed primer to the insanity of completing the sphere grid for every single character. People have said getting Perfect Sphere Master by itself takes at least 80 hours to do, making it seem like something that would take months to accomplish. But what if I told you that someone not only got every achievement in a single sitting, but also maxed out every celestial weapon during the same run? This is Camper, an FF10 speedrunner who did just that back in 2020. Today, we're going to dive into this one-of-a-kind all achievements and max celestial speedrun, how Camper managed to pull it off, and the strategies he used throughout the entire run. I'm Dr. Swellman. I make videos about RPG speedruns and challenges, and I hope you all are having a great day. Before we talk about Camper's run though, let me tell you about this video's sponsor, Raycon. The fan favorite Everyday Earbuds Classic is back and better than ever, now packing active noise cancellation. The active noise cancellation is new to the Everyday Earbuds Classic. The only thing it was missing, and like you'd expect, it's perfect for when you want to shut out distractions. I also love that there's 3 different sound modes built in, my favorite being the bass sound mode for when I'm jamming out to some jungle. They're also great for going on walks or exercising, since they stay firmly in my ears and are super comfortable with their optimized gel tips. If for some reason I need to talk to someone or pay attention to things around me, I can toggle awareness mode without needing to take them out of my ears. If you want to grab these amazing and affordable earbuds, you can do so by going to buyraycon.com/drswell to get 20% off the fan favorite Everyday Earbuds Classic, sponsored by Raycon. Camper started his speedrunning journey in early 2018 with Final Fantasy VII and quickly made his way to FF10 after finding some great documentation on the run. Eventually, he got curious about the Nemesis category, which defeats that boss in the monster arena before completing the game. It wasn't long before Camper was doing Nemesis runs to compete against another runner by the name of Madayama, with them both improving the route and the record at the time. Since Camper was already doing Nemesis runs that averaged around 20 hours in length, his community was wondering if he could do a Plat % run, also known as all achievements or trophies. The idea was simple enough, since Plat % covers the same requirements to beat both Nemesis and Penance, but adding in the Max Celestials part changed things enough to make the run absolutely ridiculous. Now for those of you who don't know or need a refresher on FF10's route and requirements for this run, here's a very quick rundown. In FF10, you travel across the world of Spira and gather powerful entities called Aeons to defeat Sin, along with a couple other final bosses. In addition to the main story, there are several side quests and tasks that need to be completed. You have to collect all the Aeons, Albed primers, Jet spheres, Celestial weapons, Luca theater spheres, all slot reels overdrives for Waka, and all enemy abilities using Kamari's Lancet. To max out your Celestials, you have to get each weapon's crest and sigil, then use those to unlock each weapon's true power. Some of these are simple to get, and others require some ridiculous grinding. Next up are the 2 main super bosses of the game. Nemesis, the super boss of the monster arena, requires you to use monster taming weapons to capture 10 of every fiend in Spira. Penance requires you to beat all the Dark Aeons in the game before you can challenge them, a simpler task than the monster arena, but still difficult as the bosses are extremely strong. With that in mind, let's take a look at Camper's run to see how he handled it. A lot of the first 9 hours of the run were similar to the 80% category. When it comes to character leveling and battle strategies, there's a big focus on getting strength and agility on Titus, along with Riku mixing Trio after Calm lands to wipe the floor with bosses up until Unalesca. Initiative and First Strike weapons are also obtained in order to prevent ambushes. Sentry with Initiative for Auron, purchased from Oaka right before the Sinspawn Gui fight, and Sonic Steel with First Strike for Titus, which can be purchased from Oaka in Macalania Forest. There's quite a few things that differ from the 80% run though, which are mainly detours for the items required for all the achievements in Celestials, but thankfully many of these things are still close to the main route. This includes not getting any of the HP or evasion nodes and getting some extra accuracy nodes for Titus. He's used heavily later on to capture fiends as part of the Monster Arena side quest, so high accuracy is required to minimize missed attacks. As for the low HP, this is needed to grind out overdrive faster in fights such as King Cactuar and Don Tomberry. It turns out when you're using the Stoic Overdrive mode and you take damage, if you have less max HP, you get more overdrive gauge from the same amount of damage with higher max HP. Combine this with using the overdrive to AP ability on a weapon, then you've got a recipe for quick and easy sphere level farming. Going back to the first section of the run, Camper grabs 15 of the 26 Albed primers before beating Unalesca. 3 of these that you get between the salvage ship, SS Leaky, and SS Winnow can actually be skipped as they reappear later in the Bikanel Desert and are right by the Oasis, Waka, and Kamari. There are 4 missable primers total, 3 in home, and 1 right before the Bevel Cloister of Trials. These are easy to miss if you're not thinking about them, so it was very smart of Camper to include those items in his timing software. Speaking of more missable things, to get Anima, you have to grab all of the Destruction Sphere chests from each Cloister of Trials. These aren't exactly missable, but if you have to come back for these, you can't easily do so until after you get the airship, and some Cloisters have Dark Aeons in the way, requiring you to beat them first. For the Crests and Sigils, Camper was able to get the Moon Crest, Saturn Crest, and Sun Crest in the sections up to Unalesca. He already got most of the Kamari Lancets up to this point, only needing a few more to complete that achievement. By the time Camper was about to start that grind in the Calmlands, he already obtained several of the achievements, marking the end of the early game and the start of the mid-game grind. Some notable ones he got were Striker, where you had to get the jet shot from the scene on the SS Winnow. Camper was also able to get teamwork from winning the mandatory Blitzball game. He also got Chocobo Master from opening 5 treasure chests during the race at the Remium Temple and winning. One of the things that Camper did in his first visit to the Calmlands was that he talked to the owner of the Monster Arena, activating the capture quest, and purchased a few monster taming items. One of these he outfitted with 1 MP cost by using the Equipment Customize feature. Since Titus is the first to learn Quick Hit, an attack that reduces the delay of your next turn, it's used in the upcoming grind to speed up captures. Camper starts up the capture grind in both Lightning Plains and Calmlands. The Calmlands captures of each fiend are required to open up the Monster Arena, but capturing 1 of each in the Thunder Plains gives a reward of 99 Chocobo Wings, which allows Camper to customize auto haste on his equipment. Another thing he did before starting his captures was recruit Brother for Blitzball in the airship. Many of the starting characters on the Besaid Aurochs Blitzball team are not great to use, so replacing them when you can is essential for upcoming tournaments, which we'll talk more on that later. After taking the SS Leaky from Besaid to Kilika to get the Jet Sphere in the captain's quarters, Camper preps his equipment and starts up the capture grind. It only takes him about 10 minutes to get 10 captures of each monster, since Kilika has 4 different fiends. Then, Camper opens up all the searchable locations in the airship and travels to Besaid Falls to do some more capturing. This saves some time over traveling to Besaid normally, as the normal method puts you in the port a couple of scenes from the encounters you need. The Besaid grind only took him about 7 minutes, and after that, it was time to do some Blitzball. In order to get all of Waka's overdrives and max celestial requirements, you have to win them from tournaments and leagues. These don't show up every time, so saving before checking Blitzball menus will allow you to easily reset tournaments and leagues until you get what you need. Camper recruited Kyo on the bridge before the Jose Temple, Brother from the airship, and Rop from the High Road Agency. Kyo is an excellent goalie, Rop has great passing, and Brother is one of the fastest swimmers in the game. Some teams don't have anyone who can swim faster than Brother, so you can herd an entire team and pass to your shooter when it's time to score. The only thing with Blitzball is if you get a bad matchup such as the Albed Sykes, it's possible to lose time from having to redo a match or 2. However, if you can score first and early, games can be really simple to win. While Camper is in the high road, he gets 1 of each fiend, then grabs another Albed primer, along with the Mars Crest and Jet Sphere in the lower area. He also grabs 1 of each fiend in Mushroom Rock Road. This might seem unintuitive, but these are all to unlock one of the original creations at the Monster Arena and get the reward for doing so. The 99 Door of Tomorrows that Camper gets here is used to customize the ability Overdrive to AP on a capture weapon, which goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the grinding. The first enemy used in this grind is Katos from the original monster creations, who counters every time he's attacked. Since Titus has Overdrive to AP on with the Stoic Overdrive mode, it took 6 fights with Katos to get the 50 sphere levels needed to continue the grind. After doing some leveling to increase strength and agility, it was time to dive back into the captures. To even further optimize this grind, Camper switches out his Overdrive mode to Slayer, which fills the Overdrive gauge every time you defeat an enemy. Next is the Macalania Forest, where he grabs the next Jet Sphere and then does the quest to get the Celestial Mirror. He then grinds out the rest of the fiends in the Mian High Road, Mushroom Rock Road, and Moonflow over the next hour, completing those areas' captures and grabbing the Jet Sphere on Moonflow's southern bank. The next grind is back in Macalania, with a mix of the monster capturing and butterfly mini-games to get the Saturn Sigil for Kamari's Spirit Lance. One of the strategies that Camper used to get encounters faster was to trigger the butterfly minigame again after completing it, and then just run into the red butterflies to instantly get encounters. It takes him about 24 minutes to complete the Macalania section, and had him moving right along to the Thunder Plains. Most of the capturing is done on the north side since he needs to grab Cactuars and Iron Giants, but he does need to go south to grab the Jet Sphere and Kamari's Celestial Weapon. You'd think that Camper would go for the lightning dodges here, but without having no encounters armor, it's easier to come back later when he can just focus on the dodges. He also takes the opportunity to go back to Guado Salam and grab the Venus Crest within the far plane. After getting done with this area's captures, it's finally time for Catch Your Chocobo. This requires you to do a Chocobo race against the trainer across the Calm Lands, all while dodging birds and collecting balloons. When you collect a balloon, it reduces your final time by 3 seconds. When you get hit by a bird, it increases your final time by 3 seconds. To get Titus's Sun Sigil, you have to get a time of 0 after the final calculations. This is easily one of the most frustrating minigames in the Final Fantasy series, as birds can pop up out of nowhere, and even if you do have a heads up, they can be extremely difficult to dodge. Of course, Camper, like the god gamer that he is, gets it on the second try, and the Chocobo license achievement along with it. He also takes the opportunity to grab the Caliburg Celestial Weapon and recruit Savanda for his Blitzball team. She has an insane 15 block stat and 14 shoot stat at level 1, making her one of the better pickups in the game. Another thing that Camper did during the Calm Lands grind was go back to the monster arena to get another reward, 99 Petrify Grenades. This was used to put Stone Strike on another capture weapon, instantly killing and capturing monsters that are not immune. After around 50 minutes of grinding captures in the Calm Lands and filling out that list, it was time to grab both the Rusty Sword and Durin for the Blitzball team. His starting catch stat is 12, making him a great goalie in early matches. The Cavern of Stolen Faith was next, getting those captures, an Albed Primer, and finally getting Yojimbo, also known as Sellout for this run. After nearly another 50 minutes, Camper was ready for Biconel's grind and a few more primers along with it. This visit also included starting the Mercury Sigil side quest to unlock the true power for Riku Celestial. Similar to the lightning dodges in Thunder Plains, it was better to complete this later after getting the No Encounters equipment. Eliosphere is also obtained when you're on the airship, so to save time, it's better to just start that part of the quest after you head back later. 30 minutes later, and it was onwards to Mount Gagazet for the next set of captures in the Jet Sphere on the way up the mountain. This is where the Stone Strike equipment goes to work, with most captures happening because of that ability. After another 30 minutes, it was time to head back to the monster arena to get the Mars Sigil, Yuna's Celestial Weapon, Nirvana, and to start prepping for a couple of monster arena grinds in the rest of the run. These are essential before going for captures in areas like the Omega Ruins and dealing with the boss rush to open up the area inside Sin. Camper customizes initiative on one of Yuna's weapons, increasing the chance to get a preemptive strike, and Auto Phoenix on armors for multiple characters. Auto Phoenix is extremely important since it lets the equipped character automatically Phoenix down someone as soon as they're KO'd, all without using a turn. Finally, he puts on No Encounters for Orin to turn off random encounters as needed. For the Don Tomberry fight, it's important to note that his attack called Karma does damage based on the amount of fiends the character has killed total. With Titus being the one capturing all the fiends, he's going to be taking a ridiculous amount of damage. It takes just 2 hits for Titus to get 99 sphere levels, showing how insanely broken this grinding method is. In the middle of this grind, Camper also gets the Mega Strike achievement, checking another one off the list. Next up after the Don Tomberry fights are the Juggernaut fights. He drops 2 strength spheres per win, and Camper needs a total of 8 of these before moving on. This will get Titus to 208 strength, letting him one-shot many enemies. Before doing all that though, it was finally time to get the Lightning Dancer achievement in a Venus sigil. Camper does have a specific spot that will give him 2 lightning strikes in a row consistently, speeding up the challenge and making it somewhat easy to do. He also goes to finish the Cactuar quest in Bikanel, getting the Mercury sigil for his efforts. Finally, after nearly 16 hours, it was time to start working on the Omega Ruins. The approach that's needed for this area is unique, as enemies like Tomberries and Demonoliths will counter most attacks. The workaround here is to use Shadow Gems since they don't cause counterattacks, then finish the enemy off with a hit from Titus for the capture. Other than that, there's another Albed Primer here to pick up, and then it's time for the Ultima and Omega Weapon fights. These are simple enough, and Camper swaps in Kimahri here to learn Nova as well. Now that the Omega Ruins is done, it's time to move to the areas inside Sin. With Titus being so overpowered, the Sin bosses and Seymour are super easy. When it comes to the fiends inside Sin, there's some overlap with the Omega Ruins. Adamantoise, Wraith, Demonoliths, and Great Malboros are ones that show up, but there are some cases where it's better to take on an enemy in a different area. For example, Great Malboros in the Omega Ruins will always ambush you, but in the City of Dying Dreams, this isn't the case. With those details out of the way, Camper gets another monster ability by using Lancet on the Behemoth King, learning the ability Mighty Guard. Camper also picks this time to view the Eternal Calm scene in the game's launcher. This is required for that related achievement, and it makes for a great built-in break for Camper to get some food, and ensures he's good to go before continuing with the grind. The only other eventful thing here is that Kimahri learns Bad Breath from one of the Great Malboros, finally getting the learning achievement. It would only be another 35 minutes after that before Camper was finally done with all the captures in the game. It took about 9 hours and 40 minutes to do all the grinding, including several Celestial Weapon side quests, which is not bad all things considered. Unfortunately, this is only the second longest grind in the game. The next major section of the run is mostly dedicated to getting the Perfect Sphere Master achievement, requiring you to activate every single node on the sphere grid with every character. Besides doing a couple of monster arena fights to get some items, the first thing he needs to do is to get the Comrade Overdrive mode on all characters. This is unlocked by party members being present when another party member gets attacked. Overdrive modes can't be unlocked in the monster arena, so Camper finds a couple of Neberos in the Calm lands to do this grind on. The way this works is Titus provokes the enemies, then puts up Protect and Regen on himself. Combine this with some poison-proof armor, and he out-heals all of the damage he takes. This takes about 30 minutes to get after starting to search for that encounter, and with that out of the way, it's time to start the Sphere Grid Forever grind. First of all, you need a ton of spheres to fill out the empty nodes. The best way to do this is to fight One Eye for magic defense spheres. He can also drop triple AP weapons, which is also a great thing to be looking for. All of these weapons get customized with Door to Tomorrow to put overdrive to AP on them, and with that done, it's Don Tomberry time. The efficiency of this grind is ridiculous, with each Don Tomberry fight only taking a couple of minutes to get 4 to 6 million AP at a time. The main problem with this grind that prevents an optimal flow through the grid is the need to constantly stock up on spheres to activate the nodes. Camper has to stop occasionally to fight a Katos and use a distiller to get the additional spheres he needs. The grind rotates between One Eye, Katos, and Don Tomberry for the next 4 hours until Camper takes another break to get a nap in. This does mean time lost for the run, but he was at his limit and needed to recharge. His plan was to only nap for 2 hours, but he didn't get back to the stream until 5.5 hours later. After another 4 hours, Camper finished his grinding on everything except for nodes blocked by level 4 key spheres. Those will be grabbed after he unlocks Nemesis, as you can steal these from him. With that grind out of the way, it was time to get some more miscellaneous achievements, starting with the Under the Table achievement. This one is done by spending 100,000 gil or more in bribes, which is easy at this point. Camper bribes Makia to get a bunch of chocobo wings, which are used to customize auto haste armor on Waka and Yuna. Finally, Camper gets a break from the monster arena and he heads back to Luca to recruit Wedge for Blitzball, who has a ridiculous 17 shoot stat to start with. He then grabs the Jet Sphere outside the locker room, the Jupiter Crest in the Auroch locker room, and yet another Albed Primer. Finally, after 34 hours, it's time for Blitzball. The early games are used to get experience and tech slots on some of the characters, such as Wedge so he can use Venom Shot. Camper does this by passing the ball around, which grants 1 experience each time a normal pass happens. Overall, the first league had a weird start. Camper's second game with the Albed Sykes ended with a tie due to getting bad luck on various passes and shots, but otherwise, he won all of his other matches up to round 8. After reaching round 9, since Camper had enough points to win no matter what against most teams, he just forfeit the last 2 matches after getting scored on to speed things up. This finished up League number 1, and thanks to the prize cycling done much earlier in the run, Camper was awarded status reels for the prize. Next up was the Auroch reels from the tournament prize, which Camper was able to have show up pretty fast. The tournament went by just as quickly, with him nabbing the new Overdrive and the achievement Blitzball Master. Next was the Jupiter Sigil from the league, which Camper had to reset the Blitzball data overall to get it to cycle in. He then recruits Wedge, Jamal, and takes a detour to grab World Champion from the Luca Cafe. Camper also recruits Zalitz outside the Luca Theater, who has an attack stat of 15 at level 1. His last pickups in Luca are inside the theater, grabbing the last Albed Primer to get the Master Linguist achievement, and buying all the spheres to get the Theater Enthusiast. After re-recruiting Brother, it was time to start the Dark Aeon section of the run. Normally, these bosses are a complete nightmare for anyone trying to take them on, but thankfully FF10's HD Remaster is a pay-to-win game, so you can simply hand money over to Yojimbo to Zanmato your enemies into oblivion. Along the way, Camper grabs Rop again for his Blitzball team, and does some Celestial Weapon cleanup with Masamune for Orin, and the Onion Knight for Lulu, getting the Weapon Master achievement. He also gets Anima since she's in the same spot as Lulu's Celestial Weapon, going for a very interesting name, and grabbing the Fear the Pain achievement. Next up is the last Blitzball League for the Jupiter Sigil, and this went really well for Camper, despite a close call in a match with the Albed Sykes, letting him forfeit 3 matches, and still getting first place in the league. Nearly 37 hours into the run, Camper went through the Belgamine fights at the Ramium Temple to get the Moon Sigil, the Magus Sisters, and both the Delta Attack and Summon Master achievements. After going back to Makalania Temple and maxing out the Celestial Weapons, it was time to take on Dark Shiva. This starts out the Dark Aeon fights that are not close to save points and are faster to kill outright compared to gambling on a Zanmato. This fight, and many others in the upcoming Monster Arena boss rush, are beaten using Waka's attack reels overdrive, which cap out at 12 hits, or about 1.2 million damage if he hits the damage cap. Using this and several Zanmatos gets Camper through the boss rush, which includes Nemesis, who was also Zanmato'd after a few attempts. With the Overcoming the Nemesis achievement in hand, it was time for Camper to fight him a few more times. He needed to grab a bunch of level 4 key spheres to clear up the grid, and Camper made sure he was good after getting the Sphere Master achievement when finishing the grid for Riku. The A Talent for Acquisition achievement came right after this, after grinding potion steals for nearly 42 minutes against the Dingo. After a mix of grinding and sphere grid menuing for another hour, Camper finally completed the sphere grid with every character, nabbing the perfect Sphere Master achievement, ending the longest section of the run. The last bit of the speedrun included cleanup of the Dark Aeons and the rest of the collectible achievements. After defeating Dark Valfor, Camper got the last Jet Sphere in the Besaid Village and got the Messenger from the Past achievement. Dark Ifrit and Dark Yojimbo were the last Dark Aeons to take on, and while Dark Ifrit was a simple fight, Dark Yojimbo was much more complicated. In order to beat Dark Yojimbo, you have to fight him and win 5 separate times. Every instance can be Zanmato'd, but again, it's up in the air if it even works. Camper got 3 out of 5 Zanmatos, and for the rest of the fights, they were just a slog. He was prepared though, as he put on stoneproof armor for all characters since Dark Yojimbo's dog, Daigoro, can petrify characters. Finally, Dark Yojimbo's Zanmato is a very dangerous attack, not only dealing 9,999 damage to the party, but also removing auto life while doing it, causing an instant game over. The only way around this is for an Aeon to tank it, which isn't a big deal, but nearly 41 hours into a run with 5 hours of sleep make room for deadly mistakes in combat. After a good 30 minutes of fighting Yojimbo, Camper made it through and was ready to take on Penance. Since the save point was right before the fight, spamming Zanmato was possible here, but Camper was having some trouble getting it to activate. Thankfully, his chat was there to save the day.
Always listen to chat. Unless it's about the Maga Sisters.
With a very dank Zanmato, Camper got the Perseverance achievement, finishing the last task before fighting the game's final bosses. After doing a final check on the achievements to make sure he has everything for FFX outside the final boss, he heads towards Sin and gets ready to fight Braska's final Aeon in the only way that makes sense. Camper uses Lulu to deal the final blow with her Onion Knight, giving Jet the emotional damage he deserves. After this, Camper goes through the Aeon boss rush like it's a gacha game, throwing all of his money at the bosses until they die. Then, as a final send-off, he kills all the other party members, inflicts zombie on Yu Yevon, and does a full life to finish the game, all while at 666 HP. Camper's final time at the end of this came in at 41 hours, 35 minutes, and 48 seconds. As of the posting of this video, Camper is the only person ever to do a full run of all achievements in Max Celestials in real time, an incredible accomplishment that took a ton of planning and endurance. This run is far from perfect, since now there's a complete method to track encounters and manipulate item drops through seed RNG manipulation. There's also the time loss due to Camper oversleeping during his napping section. Theoretically, several hours could be saved in the run, knocking it down to at least 35 hours or so, but the likelihood of anyone doing this type of run is very low. This video wouldn't exist without Camper's run, so please check it out and subscribe to his channel when you get some free time. Stay hydrated, folks, and thank you all so much for watching.